Senior legal fellow at the Heritage Foundation, and former DOJ official Hans von Spakovsky. Hans, so many places we could jump off into our discussion. We're going to start with Portland and listen to the Attorney General, what he said about what he sees there. Take a listen.
These peaceful protests in many places are being hijacked by a very hardcore of instigators, violent instigators. And they become violent, and their primary direction of violence is to injure police.
Hans, what do you make of the disconnect between what the Democrats say they're seeing there and what we've all seen with our own two eyes there in Portland each of the nights over the course of the last 2 months?
Democrats really seem detached from reality at that hearing yesterday. They kept referring to these violent rioters as peaceful protesters, but as you say, we've been seeing the video. They are not peaceful protesters, and that I think was a sign of how that entire what was supposed to be a hearing yesterday, it was more like a Soviet-style show trial, because all they did was make inflammatory accusations all day, and then wouldn't give the Attorney General the ability to even respond to their supposed questions.
You know, Hans, I think it's an important distinction to note. There are a lot of peaceful protesters out there in this country, but I think the problem is that people are lumping everyone into one category, it seems, at some point, because you have the peaceful protesters and then you have the rioters, you have the violence that's happening out there. And, you know, one of the things that Griff was just talking about, how William Barr said, since when is it okay to burn down a federal court? He said, if you go down the street, is that okay? Is this okay now? What did you make of what he had to say about that in his defense of it?
Well, in fact, the Attorney General, was distinguishing between peaceful protesters, which he says he supports, and violent agitators who are taking advantage of this to attack federal courthouses and federal officers, whereas the Democrats are failing to do that. Look, and the Attorney General mentioned this, U.S. Marshals just trying to defend the courthouse in Portland have been seriously injured, everything from being burned to being beaten, to 3 of them who may be permanently blinded because they were attacked with lasers by these supposedly peaceful protesters. Again, Democrats seem to be detached from reality, whereas Barr actually is doing what he's supposed to be doing, which is protecting the federal courthouses, federal properties, and frankly, federal law enforcement personnel, something that Democrats just don't seem to want to recognize.
Hans, Attorney General Barr defended his involvement in the Stone and Flynn cases as well throughout this hearing multiple times, and he really pushed back on that idea that he has politicized the Justice Department. Take a listen to some of that exchange.
I asked another U.S. attorney, and he determined, based on documents that had not been provided to Flynn's side and not been provided to the court, that in fact there was no basis to investigate Flynn. I agree the president's friends don't deserve special breaks, but they also don't deserve to be treated more harshly than other people.
Hans, how do you think Barr handled this entire line of questioning?
Well, he came across as cool and professional, which is quite a contrast to the Democrats asking him about this. Look, on the Flynn case, the lawyer that he assigned, the professional prosecutor that he assigned to look at that, uncovered evidence that the prosecutors in that case had not turned over exculpatory evidence showing that the defendant was, in fact, innocent of the charges against him, and the FBI clearly engaged in wrongdoing. Under those kind of circumstances, we would want the Attorney General to recommend that a case be dismissed. Nobody wants government prosecutors engaging in an abuse of their powers to target someone when, in fact, they didn't actually break the law.
Hey, Hans, real quick, because we got to run, but is anyone's mind changed after yesterday?
Well, I think the American public may see Barr actually in a better light, given frankly, the ranting and inflammatory way that Democrats conducted that hearing. It was the height of rudeness and incivility. I've never seen anything like it.
Hans von Spakovsky, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it. Have a good day.